What's going on, you guys? Paul here with Paul's Performance, and in today's video we're going to be installing a remote start system on the single cab Shorty. First, let me start off with just showing you what I got to perform this, because I know I've made a video on doing it on the Toyota, which was a little bit different because it was a TDI swap, so it wasn't exactly factory, and also it was a manual transmission. This right here has an automatic transmission, which makes it a lot easier. So for this truck, I got the exact same stuff as I got for the Toyota. I did not have to get the extra stuff for the manual. All I had to get was the Start It CMX remote start box, and then the remotes that I wanted, which I chose the exact same one, the 2WR3, which is the two-way remote, but it also comes with the drone for the phone, which is all I use for the Toyota, and that's all I'm going to use for this, but I do have a backup remote, I guess, just in case. That's all I needed for this truck here. I don't have pats on this truck. This truck originally was a manual interior, has no remotes on it whatsoever. It does have power locks on it now, but only at the truck. I don't have a remote system, which I believe if you do have a remote on this truck, you would still use the exact same stuff. You would just have to do a little bit extra wiring. That way you could get to your locks, but I didn't want this to touch my locks. I only want it to remote start the truck, so I got to bypass all that. So those of you guys who want this to work your locks and all that stuff, by all means, you're gonna have a little bit more wiring than I had, but I only want it for remote start. I want to keep my locks manual. So anyways, let's get inside and I'm going to show you guys where I inserted my wires to. It's actually a lot easier on this truck than that. So let's get inside and let me show you what I did. I know with a lot of remote start systems, if you go anywhere, they're going to tell you you can't do it at home. You have to bring it into them. And it's kind of hard to get any information for this stuff. But me being a mechanic, and that's literally what I do all the time, I was like, why would I pay somebody to wire up something on my truck when I literally build trucks for a living? So I know there's guys out there just like me, you know, you guys watching this video, same way with the Toyota, who are trying to do it yourself, but you can't find the information. And that was me about 4 months ago with the Toyota. And now that I've done it once, I've seen how you can get around it, because they say, oh, well, you got to have an account to be able to activate and do all this mumbo jumbo, all that. I know you don't get a warranty on it, which is fine with me, because if the module dies, I'll buy another one. I'm not worried about the warranty. I'd be more worried about somebody else touching my truck and wiring up stuff on it. So that's me, and I'm sure it's you guys too. So anyways, when you get your CMX, I got mine off of eBay, and I got the drone and the remote off of eBay also. The box will come with this schematic here that tells you where everything goes, basically, for the wires that come inside the box. It's not very detailed. It'll just tell you the green wire is 12-volt ignition. I did end up finding a file for the CMX that tells you a little bit more detailed, like an instruction manual online. I can get that put into the description of what I had. Like I said, I found it online. It's like a big pamphlet, and it basically breaks down everything on here, and it also helps you with the programming. I have the programmer also that I'll show you guys once we get to that. But anyways, all I had to do for my truck, which, like I said, those of you guys who are going to be doing the power locks and all the alarm system, you will have some extra stuff. But if you look in that manual, it really helps out a lot for this box in telling you everything you need to know about getting this system installed. This is just mainly wiring. So I use the high current harness, which come in the box for the CMX. All I used, a ground, a 12-volt ignition, a 12-volt starter, and then there's 3 outputs that you can program different things, which is an ignition, an accessory, and then a parking light. But all I did was, there's 2 12-volt constants that you have to hook into. I hooked those two up, the 12-volt to the starter. Obviously, I got that one hooked up, the ground, and then the 12-volt ignition. And then there's one that's 12-volt parking light. It's HCP number 1. I wired that up to the park lights. That way the park lights would do their thing, because it'll also, you know, they use the park lights for diagnostics, so I wired that up as well. And that was it for the high current harness. Now then you have the gray harness, which has all the little tiny wires on it. That is where it will differ from mine to yours. That has all types of inputs and outputs on it. I mean, that's where if you're putting a hood switch on it, which comes in the kit, so that when the hood pops, the truck won't start, that's where that wire will go. The tach, you're gonna have to have the tachometer, so that's gonna come into here. But basically, trunk, all of your door switches, all of that stuff's gonna come to this gray connector. But it depends on what you're doing for your vehicle. I'm only using this as a remote start, so all I used was the foot brake, so that if the brake gets depressed while it's running, it'll shut the truck off. Somebody hops in, busts your window out, they're not gonna just be able to drive off while you haven't remote started. As soon as they hit the brake, the truck's gonna shut down. That's a requirement. So I got the foot brake. You can run the e-brake in. I didn't do that on this one because it's automatic. I didn't have to. On the TDI with the manual, I did, and you'll have to set up that reservation mode. But like I said, for this one, much easier. I didn't have to worry about that. So anyways, all I did was the foot brake in. I believe the only other one that I had to do was the tach. And luckily on this truck, there's a wire that is in the harness that comes with a tach signal on it. It's super easy. I'll show you guys where that's at. So, and that's it for the wiring up for mine. Like I said, those of you guys who are doing door locks and stuff, you'll have to go a little bit further. But like I said, if you look in that manual that I'll put down in the description, that should help you. Save it to your files. It's on my phone and my files now. And this is the second one I've installed of a CMX, so it's helped out both times. And this one went a whole lot quicker than the first time. So let's get inside and let me show you where I hooked up on this. This is a 2004 F-250. Originally it was an XL truck, but they're all the same. Other than some will have locks. On newer model F-250s, you will start to get into the security system. On these trucks, they don't have security. Yes, the trucks will have a remote, but that's just a remote. It's not really a high-tech security system like on these newer vehicles, but you will have to do a little bit more if you want to make that remote work. For those of you manual interior guys, I'm here for you because that's what I'm about to show you. So anyways, let's get inside and I'll show you where I hooked up. So we're inside the truck, and as you can see, we got a little bit of a mess here, but I'm gonna clean that up. But here's my CMX box. I have my high voltage harness, and then there's the gray harness. And as you can see, I have my two wires that I used for this, which was just the tach sense and the brake signal from your brake switch. And then we have on the high voltage harness, we have the wires going to the actual ignition system. And all of these ignition wires here, I tapped right into this ignition connector, which is right up underneath the column here. It has a 7mm bolt that bolts this connector in. And you can just look up ignition 2004 ignition switch wiring, and you'll find a picture of this connector, and it'll give you the wiring for this, which will be your starter output, your accessory, your ignition on, all of that will be right here. So I teed right into that and got all the wiring there. The only other wire here that is not here was the one for the park lights, which I come up here to the park light where the headlight switch is, and I tied into the back of the headlight switch where the park light wire is. So on mine it's this dark brown wire here, but that's all. So everything is very integrated close by. Now the only other one that I know you guys are wondering about, because the brake switch is obviously right there at the brake, is the tach wire. And on the Toyota, I had to go to the back of the instrument cluster. On this, right behind, right here where this brake release is for your park brake, there is harness coming into the truck here. What it has is, I'm sure you guys who work on your own F-250 knows, there is some pass-through wires that go to the outside, and they're just pass-through. So on the outside they're butted up and heat shrink, and they're heat shrunk on the inside here too. Those wires are attached with some smaller wires that come to this end, and they're taped up to the harness, and they're just butted off. So you can cut that off once you find that wire. I think it's like 7 wires. you cut that, you know, open that up if you don't already have it, and you need to find the green and white wire that's in that bundle, where the pass-through wires are. And it's like I said, it's right in this vicinity behind the park brake switch. And that green and white wire is actually a tax signal, and it's an aftermarket. It's from the factory. You know, they wire it in there, but Ford, I guess, you know, was looking out for you by going ahead and getting that tax signal. That way you don't have to go up to the back of the cluster and, you know, cut a wire and tap in. All you got to do is cut that heat shrink off and butt connect it straight to it. So like I said, double check it to make sure it's working. I did that as soon as I cut the heat shrink off. I double checked it to make sure it was getting that AC, you know, voltage signal. I would do that just to make sure, but I tied in, and like I said, that's right here, and that's it. Everything wiring wise for mine was done, and all within this vicinity. A whole lot nicer. A whole lot nicer than the last one. Maybe for those of you guys who need to do a little bit more with your doors and all that, and you're gonna do security, you may have a little bit longer day, but to be honest, this took me about 2 hours really to put together here. Like I said, my first time, I believe if I did this again, I could probably do another truck in about an hour now. So we got that up. So now I'm gonna show you the only other things where I had to run up, which was my antenna. So let's get up on top of the dash and I'll show you that. After I got all the wiring, which like I said was all down here, all I had to do then was route my antenna and my drone module. And the drone module is not something that everyone will have. For those of you guys who want to start it with your phone like me, the drone module is what you have to have. For those of you guys who are only going to use the remotes, you won't have the drone module, so you don't have to worry about that. The drone module just plugs into your CMX. So all you have to do is plug it in and route it up to your dash. And you're going to want to mount it in a high point because it's going to be getting LTE data. You don't want to bury it down in the, you know, dash. You want it to be up as high as possible. I have mine mounted right up on the underside of the dash, so it's literally right underneath the dash plastic right here on the top. I have that mounted there. The same way with the antenna for the remote. I have it ran to the top of the dash, and it just plugs in and you route it, and it's ran up here to the very top, sticking on top of my dash. And that's it for the routing. Now I just have to clean up the wiring and put all this back together. Before you do this, just like I did, you don't want to put everything back together. I learned this the hard way on the Toyota. While you have everything open, this is where you want to program your remote, and it'll tell you how to program it. Once you get the remote programmed, you want to test the remote start and make sure that the truck remote starts. If you have a manual and you're going to have to program it, which I need to program mine too, because I had to program the glow plug delay for this truck, which it's warm out, so I wasn't worried about testing it on default. You'll need to get one of these, the FirstTech OP500s. I got this off of Amazon. It was like 60 bucks. It's really not that bad to be able to do it yourself, but that, you know, this is one of those things where they were like, well, you ain't gonna be able to change anything on your own. You can buy this on Amazon and you can change all the parameters on here. You can set up anything from your turbo timers to glow plug, delay, and then if you're doing a manual, your reservation mode, you can set up, you know, everything that you're going to do, whether or not it's triggered by park brake, door shutting, etc. Everything will be set up through here. I know for a one-time thing, this may not be worth it to you, but to do it yourself, you really don't have much of a choice. I've heard you can also plug your thing to the computer and change it online also, but I haven't looked at that yet. I just bought this because I knew I was going to be doing multiple vehicles, multiple of mine. I may end up doing some others too, but I knew I was going to be doing multiple, and it really wasn't that bad to be able to do it myself. And I don't have a computer out here to hook up to, you know, to do that stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna change my glow plug delay, and that's about it. I may have to tweak a couple more things, but this right here will do it with no problem. So that's it for the install of the Compustar remote starter on the F-250. Like I said, pretty simple. I know that I didn't give you a detailed step-by-step and, you know, you do it with me, but to be honest, you'll figure it out when you get under your dash. You can't really have the camera up in there because you can barely get up in there. It is a pain. getting up into your dash and doing this stuff, but it's really not that bad, especially on this truck. Other vehicles may vary. On the F-250s, everything was right there. It really wasn't that bad to get to, but sorry I couldn't take you guys along. If you have any questions, please comment and I'll help you out as much as possible. I'm gonna try to get as much information down below for what I use schematics wise. Everything was readily available to be able to do this, so very easy. You can do it yourself, guys. Don't let them tell you you can't. You can do it yourself. It just takes, you know, a little bit of knowledge and really just pieces of paper with schematics on it. That's all it takes. They act like it's secret society or something, you know. I mean, but it's really just inserting wires. I'm like, I've done harder stuff, just saying. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and like I said, hope you guys enjoyed seeing the old Shorty here. I know she's ripped apart on the inside, so not exactly the, you know, the sight y'all want to see, but you will be seeing more of it because obviously I'm putting this remote starter on here. I've been driving it, it's getting warm, so you guys will be seeing more of her. And like I said, we'll be making some more videos detailing what's going on, and you'll get to learn more about, you know, how this got here, because she wasn't as pretty as this always. I'll insert a little picture right here of what she used to look like. But anyways, as always, please like and subscribe, and see you guys next time.